Well, welcome everyone. This is our May session, although it's happening in June, but we just had to accommodate a couple of days difference. But here we are. We have Deepti Jain joining us from India, and this is we're back into our friends from all around the world, where we bring people that we cannot afford to bring in person in Toronto, and we bring them here in Zoom, and we have had a chance to bring some amazing speakers, amazing friends that have shared different point of views that come from outside of North America and share with us. So with Deepti today, I know Deepti from a long time. She's been in the Agile community, and she's shaping up a lot of things, even with the Agile Alliance. So very happy to have you here today. And we're going to talk, a little bit of duplication there, but we're talking about how to build a way to communicate within our team so that we can create a healing and coaching using clean language. It's a topic that Deepti is very passionate about. So I'm like, yeah, why not bring something that people love and speakers love and have the passion and then can share with everybody. So I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm going to open the stage, and Deepti, welcome.
Thank you so much, Alita. Thanks a lot for having me here. And I do look forward to exchange notes with amazing people who are already here. I feel they must be knowing more about clean than me when I look at them. And so, yeah, let's exchange what we know. And I'll start with sharing whatever I have with me. And so before that, I'll jump on to a very small introduction of mine. Hi guys, I am Deepti. I am in India. In India, I am in Delhi, New Delhi, the capital city, capital region, basically Gurgaon, which is in the capital region. And here, I started working in an IT software industry, a company in 2005, and after my BTech in IT. And then, I moved on from various roles, software engineer, senior software engineer, team lead, and all of that. And then something happened, agile transformation. And then, that's where I learned about Scrum, Agile, and it was very exciting because for the first time you heard that you'll be making decision as a team, and manager will be there to remove impediments, but not deciding what you do, how you do. So it was a lot of autonomy, which I was desperately looking for. I always felt I was not fitting in. Something is wrong with me. Probably I am more meant for creative work rather than the technology work or people oriented work. Something is wrong with me, because see, when you are not fitting into a system, you feel you are wrong. Anyways, from there, the journey into conversation about agile, conversation about going agile was beautiful. That was where I feel there was a turning point in my life, because I naturally was drawn, interested to know more. And so I started learning about it, started talking to people, reaching out to people randomly, and going to meetups and conferences. And from there, I got to know the concept of meetup. And of course, everyone knows conference, but what will I do in conference kind of thing? So I started running my own meetup. And then when I started going to conferences, I'm like, I want to do more experiment with conferences, just like I want to do more experiment with the ways of working in the organizations. So I started working in 2005, and exactly after 10 years, I quit and became independent consultant in 2015. And from there, I had been learning different stuff. From 15 to 19, journey was very exciting. I was, going to meetups and conferences. I started speaking. I started then hosting conferences. And in India, I run somewhere around 12 to 15 conferences per year. And then I also assist a lot of conferences, and which means a lot of interaction with community. And so by 2019, I I had a huge burnout, and I always used to feel fine. What more? I am at an absolute 100% burnout, but I'm not dying. I'm not falling. I'm not failing. So what can happen? And that's when I hit my breakdown, because never, I've never experienced breakdown. So in 2019 is when I experienced my breakdown, and then is when I wanted to look inward. I was super desperate to know who I am and what is it that is not right. And I started meeting and talking to coaches, counselors, psychiatrists, therapists. And that's when I wanted to probably learn psychology first to understand the whole mindset. But then I stumbled upon ICF, and further I stumbled upon human system dynamics and clean language. So that was a long introduction, but also was needed for the conversation that we'll have today. And so when I reached out to all these counselors and therapists and doctors, and conversation about medication, and conversation about your past, and conversation about how you have become who you have become, and what you really want, um, that that triggered me a lot, because I had to go and repeat the same thing: how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling, what is happening with me. And there was no solution coming out. It was very frustrating. And when I'm talking about it, I'm again feeling like how helpless it was. At one point I really lost hope that something will work out, and probably I am the mad one, actually, the crazy one. And that's when I also felt that I need to pause. So my conferences and my teams were in place and they were running fine. I gave a pause to the consulting work that I was doing, and I would take trainings and the PI planning if folks are from Agile community here. I mean, I'm sure there must be coaches as well. So I will take work which will engage me lesser with people, conversation and communication, because otherwise it will just trigger me. Uh, so I'm so grateful to my team, those 25 amazing people who work with me. Some of them are so senior to me, but thanks to them that these conferences and training work went on smoothly. And I started learning. I thought going into psychology is like a big jump. Probably let me start with the coaching. And when I started with coaching, the conversation will be, so hi, how are you? How are you feeling? What do you want to talk about today? What do you want to achieve? Hell with you. I don't know what do I want to achieve. I don't know what the heck is going on with me. And that's when I stumbled upon clean language. Thanks to Caitlin Walker, thanks to actually Shane Hasty. He told me, Deepti, not because of knowing what I'm going through, definitely not, but for conferences, he said, this is interesting. Try and find out more about this, try and have Kathleen speaking. And then year 2020 is when COVID started. So 19 is when I talk about this, and 2020 COVID happens. Anyways, we had a huge in-person fest, Agility Today. Folks from Agile Alliance came, thanks to Phil Broke, and we did amazing Agility Today. And then COVID happened, and so everything went online. And so then for 2021 we could have Caitlin, and we could have her folks doing in workshop clean language. So today I didn't prepare any presentation. I'm going to outsource everything that they have already created. What's the point of reinventing the whole wheel? But what I loved about clean, and before actually I tell about what I loved about clean, I want your perspective. I want to hear from audience. How do you feel about coaching? Have you been to therapy? Have you been to psychiatrist, and had to answer the question of why you are feeling the way you are feeling? I don't know. I am coming to you because I am not feeling right. You tell me. You are supposed to be an expert. So, have you ever been? That is my first question to you. And the second question is, have you ever addressed something of this sort, like a junior or subordinate, a family member, your niece, your nephew, your son? Have you ever encountered? So, these are my two questions. If you are too shy to speak, probably drop a comment. The first question is, you yourself, when you didn't feel all right, or when you felt confused, or you felt lost, Did you speak to someone, and what were your experiences? What helped and what did not help? And two, if someone reached out to you, could you help? How did you help? And were you able to sort of, simply trigger them and not being able to help? So I guess everyone is on a mute and they
I can start, or someone, yeah, Mitri, go ahead.
I'll go with the last one. Yeah, I like the last thing that you said, like if you tried and you were not successful and you just triggered someone. I definitely have had many of these instances where I try to help and I try to say things in a way that I feel is very clear and very not triggering, because I'm trying to say it in a precise way, but then very often I'm not successful. So with certain people, I've noticed there are few people that I'm just like, regardless of what I say, I kind of manage to trigger them. And then yeah, I had a few times where I was able to, I'm not sure if I was able or if it just happened, but like I was in a conversation with people where I'm trying to help, and then I say something, and then they react in like completely like super good way, and then I'm happy about the whole thing. And I'm not sure whether I did it or they did it, but it happened, and yeah, I've had those situations as well. So it's definitely very nice. But for me, even though I'm trying to generate these situations, I don't think I've arrived at the place where I do it consistently. Like sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, and it's more of a kind of like just trying. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That really helps. And that's exactly what I have also experienced. Sometimes we just suffocate the other person by sympathy and by nodding too much and by constantly humming, yeah, yeah, I have seen, it has happened with me. Adita, you were also saying something.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, like, have you triggered people or have you asked things? Yes, I remember when I was early in my coaching days, and a coach can only ask questions, doesn't provide solutions, right? The solution is in other people's heads, and trust them that they will come up with a solution. And taking that stance, someone was a director of product, and was like, so what should we do? And I'm like, I'm the coach, right? So what do you think we should do? And he's like, I'm not here to tell you what should we do. I'm asking you. So that was like a really big trigger, like coming back, like, no, this is not what I have you here for. And I had to change my stance. But definitely that just being a coach in that stance sometimes feels like you trigger people.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And
I
yeah. Ilana, yeah.
Oh, well, I think it's contextual. I think both in my personal life and my professional life, I've seen coaching, and I've seen, psychologists and whatever, as life stresses sometimes sort of throw you sideways. And certainly I've done a large amount of coaching and mentoring and those sorts of things across my career. And I think one of the things that's important, certainly when you start coaching somebody, is to have a base level understanding of what they already know, because sometimes they don't have the context to find the solution. So you have to change the questions you're asking to help them find the answer, right? To break the problem down, because if you don't, then absolutely you get the reactions that that Artie was saying, where they're like, but I'm paying you to coach me, so tell me what I need to do. They lose the context of the relationship because they're now desperate, and it's understanding their context, I think, is what prevents that disconnect between the coach and the coachee. Like, what do you need? And that changes not the questioning, because we don't want to give the answers, but the types of questions we ask.
Exactly.
I've seen this before, and one of the things I've considered is X. do you think X would work in this situation, to then let them think it through is what I find works. But absolutely, just like Artie, early in my career, oh boy, I stepped in it. But I've been doing this for 30 years. So thank goodness the stepping is much less frequent now.
Thank you. That's true. So the point is, what are we asking? The question is very important. So in my journey of, being so frustrated in my search of who am I, what do I want, why am I behaving, what are my baggages, what is my trauma, where is it coming from? And I realized that, so the ultimate therapist with whom it really happened, I found my breakthrough. In the first session, I only cried because, when she said, okay, tell me straightforward, what do you want? And I'm like, all my fears surfaced when she said this. And I'm like, she'll not get me. She'll not get me. And like everyone else, she'll do the same thing. But so yes, the questions, and then there were right questions. And then, there were, of course, right, she could build that psychological, security. From there, I started flowing and speaking, and of course, I found my path. And then, I've also realized just having that one therapist or coach sometimes does not work. You need uh, people of different mindset who have seen different things to help you. So when after a certain point I wasn't finding breakthrough there, I reached out to another coach and who speaks a lot in clean language with me. And so, even before getting introduced to clean, she introduced me to clean without calling it clean. And so when I learned about clean, I said, dude, you actually do clean with me. And that's why, you don't trigger me. And that's why I find my answers. So let's start with coaching, because our conversation here is how coaches can use clean in the coaching. So as Elena said, that it is the right questions which do not trigger. My coach, when I was doing my ICF, I could not understand. I will always go with my biases. The moment someone will start sharing something, I will, slowly start moving that person in that direction to feel that he or she is enough. Or he or she feels enough. They don't need you to tell them that you are enough. Their problem is something else. They don't need to, you to tell them they are loved. Moreover, it is not about you. Moreover, it is not about how you feel for them or their situation or the challenges they are going through. Well, that was coaching. Coaching is all about right questions, powerful questions, uh, creating that environment where a person feels attended completely, and a person feels safe and feels that there is an unconditional regard for that person. That is all about coaching. I am sure all of you here are coaches, and every time when I speak in a forum, my hesitation is I do not want to oversimplify or repeat something that you already know and bore you. So please drop a comment or stop me wherever you feel like that. So that was coaching. And when I started coaching, I always felt that I'm going to do the same thing to others. I'm going to ask them, how are you feeling? Okay, can you tell more? Okay, why do you think that is happening? And none of them that will be able to create an environment which is needed. How will I understand what sort of environment this person will need? Those questions were always there. But when I progressed to clean, I was just learning various things. I love human system dynamics, even how they keep it, very much colorless, very much bias removed kind of situation. So when we talk about clean, just let me know in yes or no in the chat who all already are familiar with clean, and who are not, so that I'll sort of get a vote. How many of us are already aware of clean? Okay, so it's okay. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Good to read that. So those of you who already are familiar with clean, can you give me on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is least and 10 is maximum, how much familiar you are with clean? All right, so we are more or less on the similar scale. So I am going to quickly share from my coach what I learned about clean, and it is very much suitable for all of us here to learn about clean. Clean is a simple set of questions, developed on the theory of Grove. So who was David Grove? He was a therapist, psychology expert, and he worked with soldiers. Now, these soldiers were not supposed to share what exactly has happened on the war field, on the war front, right? They have to maintain that confidentiality. So then how do you treat them? How do they share how they're feeling, what they're feeling, because ultimately you have to reach to the core. What has caused this feeling that they are having, right? And so David has to come up with something which does not ask them any personal question, which does not ask them anything that they might not be interested in sharing. Yet, as Caitlin says, you have to pay attention to where they are focusing, to the point they are able to focus and pay attention to what is very much needed, so that they are able to see what they should be saying. Everything is in front of us, but because our language is supposed to enable us to express, we get lost in the language, less lost in the language. And so how should we connect with what we are feeling? In one of my conversation with my coach, who uses clean a lot, she said, tell me, how do you feel, when you are among XYZ bunch of people? I said, you look at the furniture. I showed her in her room, and there was this one antique chair, which was not, which was very much out of the place. I said, I feel exactly like that chair. I don't belong. So, so what is clean? Clean is a bunch of questions, which is not asking anything directly, which is more asking into references. So how do you feel? Uh, or what do you want? I want mango. You want mango. And how does this mango feel? So, the questions which are not, why do you want mango? Mango is sweet and it offers iron, and but too much of mango can cause this problem. And nobody wants gyan. Nobody wants what is your personal bias to be there. Nobody wants questions which they don't want. So then how can be the questions which people can yet have and find their own way? As they say in the coaching, that people should be able to find their own way. And so going back to what is clean, and I just want you to quickly have a look and read. Asking the questions in the right context, which find you result and insights in a person, and hence lead you to new possibilities. That is clean. I also want to show you quickly the sort of questions which are formulated in the clean. So the questions which are there in clean, and uh, which basically filter out your, as I repeatedly am saying, biases, filter out pinpointing, filter out giving directions, filter out imposing your thoughts, filter out encroaching someone's space. Those are the way. If you ask me what is clean, that is clean for me. Another thing, so what did I use when I was talking to my coach? I said, I am the chair which does not fit among your entire furniture in the room. So this was more of a metaphor for me. How do I appear, right? As I said, I was burning from both the end. So what does that mean? I could have simply said that, I was working too hard and I was using entire capacity, but no, this, working too hard and using my entire capacity and time box is still explainable, but there are things which you cannot explain. So what do? That's when you take shelter under clean. You clean up your conversation as a coach, as a leader, as a questionnaire, and so that you build that psychological safety, that container where the person can erupt as a soda can, or a volcano, whatever. So what sort of questions do we ask, when we have a conversation in coaching? It's very simple. We actually all can practice this. And so what you have to ask is, you have to ask your peer within this group, what do you want to happen? And when this person says, I want my job to become permanent or something of that sort. And so then you have to ask, and how does that feel? And from there, let's just quickly reflect on the questions which are there in the claim. And here the credit actually goes to here are the questions which I would want you to reflect on, wherein the questions will be more like the question with no color, no background, and it'll be more like, what kind of job? And then, is there anything else that you want to share about the job? And then, where do you, so let's say someone says, I feel angry. Okay. And what kind of anger do you feel? So then the person will say, an anger which will make me erupt completely and blow everyone around me, blow away everything that's around me. Okay. And where do you feel that anger? I feel that anger in my chest. So the questions flow like that. And okay, so I'll pause here. And I know there might be questions, and I know there might be confusions in this conversation. And so let's clean it up first, and then we proceed. And if there are no questions, which means either you're absolutely clear about what we are talking, or it's absolutely not making any sense.
You always go like, do you always go like question 1, 2, 3, or you can start anywhere?
You can actually start with the very first question. What is it that you want? Or the opening question. So as you can see, the question, let me just quickly again share the first screen, and which is this. You start with where, what. So you don't have to have a fixed sequence, but depending on context, you can ask about what do you want to happen? And for that to happen, what do you want? That kind of thing. And if someone comes with a question, then you can actually ask about how does that feel. So let's say someone already says, I'm feeling anxiety. So then the questions comes out to be more about anxiety. So where do you feel anxiety? Where exactly in yourself, kind of thing. And when you feel anxiety, then what happens? And then what happens? That kind of thing. Okay, so either you ask questions or you all are pushed into rooms. And I will encourage that you, take a screenshot of these questions before going to the room, so that when you go into the room, you all practice these questions. And your opening statement, opening statement will be, what would you like to have to happen? And which I'm going to put in the chat. That will be the very first question. Why? Because you all are meeting to strangers. Nobody is opening anything. Nobody wants to share anything. So we start with this, which says, what would you like to happen? And do not give any suggestions. Do not give any guidance. Do not empathize, sympathize, anything. You just have to go clean. And which is, what would you like to have happen?
Deepti, should we have one example going like in the group? It's not like too many people, so maybe we can have one together, and then maybe we can try separate.
Absolutely, you are actually right. I was just jumping on to practicing in group. Let's do that. Let's actually first do that within the group here. So if anyone wants to ask question, I am open. Or if you want me to ask questions, I am open. But someone has to volunteer to answer.
I can volunteer to answer.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Too much silence for me.
So we start as usual with the very first question, which is what would you like to have happened?
I'd like to have happened. I would like to have had my former leadership recognize my skill set.
And is there anything else about that recognition?
That they would listen to me with intent as opposed to listening to me and brushing me off.
So you want your leaders to former leadership to have recognized your efforts, and that they didn't just shrug off or brush off your suggestions and recognized them. And so what kind of recognition?
What kind of recognition? It's a verbal acknowledgement and an explanation of why they didn't do what I suggested.
And when they didn't do what you suggested, uh, what happened then?
I left.
And when you left, what happened next?
Got a position at a company that recognizes my expertise and is willing to take the suggestions and work with them.
Wow. So when your former leadership did not recognize your suggestions and potential in them, and then you did not feel okay, so here I am missing out what statements you said, but the catch is you have to be very mindful and remember, what the person in question is sharing with you. So coming back to, what you were saying, when you moved on to new job and you found a leadership that recognizes your questions, what kind of recognition is this?
Kind of recognition. Verbal recognition and like being able to work on my suggestions to see if they're feasible in the organization instead of having them be dismissed out of hand.
And so what happens just after this when they do this to you?
Well, sorry, I lost the thread of the who you're speaking about.
So what happens when they, do what you have suggested? What happens then?
I feel respected for my expertise in the area.
And when you feel respected about the expertise in the air, where do you feel that?
Where do I feel that? In my heart.
And when you feel it in your heart, what kind of, what do you feel? How does it feel inside?
Warm and fuzzy.
You feel warm and fuzzy. And is there anything else about this warm and fuzzy?
No, not really. I feel good. It's like I feel recognized and good, and I'm happy, and I'm willing to do more work for my current employer than they might otherwise ask.
Okay. And is this warm and fuzzy has a shape or size?
Not really. I don't think so.
Okay. And so is there anything else about this warm and fuzzy that you want to share?
No, not in any way that I could articulate meaningfully anyway.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. So with this exercise, I just wanted to demonstrate questions. But now I want to ask you, Elena, when you had this conversation, what came to your mind? What did you feel?
What did I feel when I had the conversation? you know, honestly, not a lot. It was an easy conversation to have because you didn't ask me like questions I didn't know. I mean, other than the describe the warm and fuzzy, like it was, there was no wrong answer for me to come up with. The questions were leading me down a path that made it easier to articulate what I was thinking.
So two major things that I'm listening here in the conversation is, first of all, you didn't feel that there can be possibly a wrong answer for you. And two, it was an easy path.
Yes.
And there was no personal connotation from Deepti's side to this. And did you feel judged?
No.
Did you feel that Deepti is imposing her bias?
No.
Right. And so for coaching, and you know, I have so much respect for you and your work and your experience of coaching. And so for those who are learning to practice coaching, if we introduce clean while we are coaching, it will help us a lot in building that psychological safety for people. Hey, Donald, what happened to your nose? You're on mute, and there is a T. Oh, okay. You know, from far it appeared as if there's a band-aid. And you're still on mute, or I don't know if everyone can hear
Yeah,
you.
I know. I don't hear you either, Don. But we see you.
Yeah, I hear you.
How's that? Any better?
Yes.
There we go. I don't know. The only thing happened to my nose is it grew. It's big. It keeps growing.
No, so you know, when you were behind, there seemed to be a bandage, medical bandage. So
Oh, that's because there's a shadow because I'm using a different camera.
right.
But it's all good. It's okay.
Yeah. So before we go to our breakout rooms, does anyone want to simply practice clean? It does not have to lead us anywhere. Or you know, if there is a difficult, strong emotion that probably we want to explore, you know, among ourselves, you know, all of us here, I feel the respected community will be kind enough, you know, to all of us, each other here. So do we want to do one more round of questioning, and maybe someone else wants to take it and I will share the questions again and you want to use it?
We have only 15 minutes left, so I don't know. Do you feel like you want to go into groups, or do you want to do another one together?
So let's do another one together because there is not a lot of time. So we start with the question that I have put in the chat. And so does anyone wants to, you know, ask the question?
I can ask questions.
Perfect. So who wants to answer the questions?
I can go.
Awesome. So let's get started then. We start with the question which is there in the chat. Should I put it again?
I think I'm okay. Thank you.
Perfect. All right.
So, Artie, what would you like to have happened?
I would have liked for my daughter to take more responsibility for her university application. For all the parents, there is university application time.
Yeah.
And is there anything else about that responsibility?
Would have made the whole process easier. We would have been more prepared, less stress, less last minute rush. Would have been much smoother and probably better options.
And what would you see and hear around you to let you know that it was the smoother process that you were looking for?
The stress that we went through in the last couple of weeks could have been prevented if we had started a lot of these conversations in September, when she trusted, oh, my teacher knows everything and I'm just going to do what my teacher said. And you know, I know that the teachers have 200 kids to deal with, so probably the attention wasn't there. So because of that, a lot of stress was put in the last 2 weeks. And I believe that if we had done these conversations earlier, we would have less back and forth.
And what would you like to have happen next?
I don't have another child to say, oh, I'm going to do better with the next one, but I would have liked for her to still continue looking for options, even though she has made a decision, but still continue looking for options, because universities give you chances even after you start.
And what kind of options?
To follow the subjects that she wanted to specialize.
Is there anything else about those options?
Yeah, she has to work hard to get those.
And what do you see as the relationship between the options and working hard?
Options, there are more options in your hands when you work hard, in this case, and gives you more opportunities to choose when it comes the time for choosing. The earlier you start, the more options you have when it comes the time for you to choose.
And is there anything else about choosing?
Puts you in the right place where your heart and your mind and your what you want to do when you grow up kind of come together.
And is there anything else about your heart and mind?
It's the harmony in your life, right? When you are doing something you love and you are given that opportunity, it brings more harmony in your life, less stress, better life, better, you enjoy what you do more, and you enjoy even your life more.
And where do you feel that harmony?
Day to day, better sleep, less triggers, better ways of enjoying life, right? You can see a happy person versus someone that is under a lot of stress or not happy.
And what kind of enjoyment is that?
I don't know how to answer that. It's just, you enjoy your life. You do things that bring you peace and joy.
What would you see and hear around you? Do you know that you were enjoying life?
You don't feel like you have to do things. You feel more like you got the chance to do things.
Very good. And what kind of things would that be?
It can be anything, professional or personal. By the way, break, stop. Deepti, when are we done? Because this can go on and on. Is there something that you can say, okay, we're done?
It's you who is going to say it's done in this conversation here. And it's sometimes it just doesn't take a lot of time. But Acha, before that, I really want to acknowledge, Dawn, you were awesome. You were like awesome. So like, have you been practicing clean?
I try to incorporate clean where I can. I've been actually working with clean and trying to incorporate clean invitations and deliberating structures.
Wow. So Adi, yeah, I mean, let's ask you, how did you find any insight in here when you were having conversation with Dawn?
it feels easy, right? It feels like a conversation with a friend over a coffee rather than a session with your coach or psychiatrist that now you feel like, oh my God, you know, it feels more an easygoing conversation.
And if you have given this enough time, I am sure you would have seen closer into what is really bothering you. I am sorry for challenging. Now, here Deepti is bringing her bias, but sorry for challenging how you are feeling already, feeling that you already know what is genuinely worrying you. But probably if you have given Dawn some more time, you would have discovered something which you might not be able to see right now.
Mhm.
And then now I am coming more from coaching perspective and not from healing the trauma perspective. And so I am okay, I'm just answering the question which I'm not supposed to, because I'm not a coach. And at this point in time it's more Don who is actually the coach here. But probably you would have discovered that the worry you have is maybe not needed. I know in heart of your heart you know, but it would have helped you detangle the whole thing. And when it would have been detangled, it would have, brought you the joy you were describing. So yeah. So Don, yes, I was actually about to come back to you. So please, I really want you to share, how do you feel about it? Yeah.
I thought what was really important is that when Artie first mentioned the topic, I laughed because I also have a daughter in grade 12 that is going through university applications and then scholarship applications. What I found the clean questions very quickly does is remove my personal thoughts and bias, because what I first wanted to do was go, I know, right? And so I did find that the clean questions helped very quickly to push my thoughts and push sort of me to the background and make the focus about Artie and what she's thinking and feeling. So I thought it was a really great exercise for that, because there was an attraction right away that I wanted to just kind of like jump in. Like, she tagged me in over the road. We're both in the ring now. We're going to go to town on this. So I thought it was amazing for that. But I was really nervous at first, because when she said that, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to focus on clean? So it was a great topic, Artie.
You did a great job, by the way. And probably we could have gone on and on, but I was like, is going somewhere, but I didn't know if we had to continue. So that's why I took the break. If you want, we can continue, but I just wanted to have this. Yeah.
I think, Don, actually, it should have been really you who should have conducted this session. And I'm sure Adi must have reached out to probably you for this first. But, Adi, if you ask me, within the time box, what we have achieved today is established how we can at least ask clean questions. Mm-hmm. And then we practice to see, where it leads. Where are we going with this? And so in I'll just share one question. In one of the conversations with Sarah Scarrett from Kathleen Walker's Institute, she invited me for a book she's working on, where she questioned me on purpose. And believe me, this conversation went on for 1.5 hours. So which means sometime it takes time. And I was so relieved after that conversation. It was about purpose. And it did help me, take a break and realize purpose is going to be ongoing. Some people can confidently say they want to become an astronaut, or they want to run a company, or they want to conquer world. But probably that's not what purpose is. Just like vision, purpose also changes. That's what she made me realize, by the end of it. And it was so relaxing. It was so relieving after the conversation. So it would have been really interesting to see you and Dawn having this conversation more for another hour. But yeah, so Dawn, again, over to you if you want to add something. But for me today, fortunate speaker here, for me, if we established something today in this talk, session, workshop, is how to ask clean questions. And then I really request everyone go and dig some more.
It's the practice, I find, right?
Everything is a practice. Yeah. But concluding about clean, it actually takes all the connotations, biases away, and you feel like you're just having a random conversation with some fool sometime, or a friend, or you don't feel that you are in a therapy, you are in a coaching, you are interrogated, you are a victim, or you are a fool, or whatever voice you have inside. What do you think, Don?
I would just add that at first it can feel awkward as the person asking the questions. And yet often when I've practiced it, especially early on, you would ask people and they don't see it that way at all. And so I would say absolutely the practice and getting over our own discomfort when someone describes something to say, what kind of X is that X? It can sound awkward coming out, and yet the person kind of goes, And I've always said, you're asking a good coaching question when the person has to say, perfect. They're stopping to reflect, and I find clean can really help with that.
Mhm.
And what about the
so I was just going to add, I love the story that you shared at the beginning. So you brought something that I couldn't, and that's that personal connection for you. So thank you so much for sharing that.
And what about this moment with the coaching agreement? Like, I mean, this is clean language and everything, but just because it's clean, I guess it doesn't remove the need for people to establish the agreement before they start.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you will be in an unknown zone and anything can go wrong, kind of thing. So yeah, safety net is your contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
I
is
was
it
just
called?
getting.
Is it
Sorry,
called in
yes.
lean? I think they call it like, let's be clean. They have that lingo. I've seen coaches working with each other and let's be clean on this. And when they said those ways, okay, how we're going to work together on this.
I don't know, probably they talk about a contract, establishing working agreements, kind of thing.
That
Yeah.
would be interesting, and I don't know if anyone has seen it there. I haven't. What would be to take some of the clean questions and map it to the coaching arc.
Yeah.
It's a little bit laid out with the developing an intention and sequence, but it would be interesting to overlay those together to help people focus on not moving along too far. Because I know I got to a little bit of the, what would you like to have happen? What would you like to see and hear around you to let you know? And that's a bit more of an advancing question. And so thinking about overlaying the coaching arc across that was something that came to mind.
I like that idea,
Yeah.
John.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Donald, you said something that for me was important. Like you said, like when the person that you're asking and they say and then they answer that you feel it's kind of like it was the right. I feel it's almost the same when the coach, when the person asking the questions takes some time to kind of to say like what was the next question. It kind of feels more human to me, like, because like when I was listening when you were asking the questions and at a few points you were a little bit slower to ask the questions, and I felt that the questions came across more natural, and then when they were flowing very fast, it was a bit kind of like just like jump to the next question. And
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, I think we're at a time, and it is lunchtime even here. So thank you everyone that joined. I hope you got something out of this. Thank you, Deepti, for sharing your personal story, your personal way of getting into clean, and for bringing that that experience that you had. That's powerful. So thank you for the examples that we had to go through. I think the examples are way powerful always. So with that in mind, yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and happy summer.
thank you, Deepti, and
Thank you for having me.
RD.
thank you.
You're
Thank you, RD,
welcome.
for organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.